I like it. Le Echo it is.
It's Tuesday, 20th of September 2016. It's time now for episode 74 of the Laser Couch podcast. We're here to give you what you need to know about technology, gadgets, pop culture, and all things geeky. Broadcasting all the way from the TLC studios in Sydney, Australia. My name is Jeff Kim, and goodbye 6P, goodbye.
My name is Calvin Lee, and I'm getting excited about Pixels.
Pixels?
Yeah.
Like the movie Pixels?
Well,
yeah, that was a great movie, wasn't it?
No, it was, I should have won an Emmy.
Everything, yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's not that, is it?
No, it's not. It's the worst movie ever made.
What are you excited about then?
Well, it's twofold.
Yeah.
The first is Google's event that's coming up in October.
Mm-hmm.
I think the 4th. So their new phones are called the Pixels, and that's
no longer Nexuses.
No longer Nexuses.
Yeah.
I never thought about that. It's a lot easier to say Pixels.
Yeah.
So that's today's show. We're going to be looking at the iPhone 7 and all the other phones that are currently out there. If you're shopping around, you definitely want to stay in tune with the show, and we're going to have a talk about that in a second.
Mm-hmm.
But have you been? What's new?
Oh, what's new? God.
Yeah.
Well, it's been a couple of weeks. I guess in the past week or so, I've pre-ordered the iPhone 7 Plus, as well as the Apple Watch Series 2.
And you got a bit of a shock today.
$2,000 later. Actually, I've only been charged for the Apple Watch.
I don't know. I'd rather they take my money and be responsible for it.
So I mean, so the iPhone's not coming till October now, 17th of October. That's a big day for me, actually, for a number of reasons.
Yeah.
But the watch is coming this week, apparently.
Yes.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, you got a terrifying message from your deliverer.
TNT, yeah. So hopefully I'll get it today. So in the meantime, I've said goodbye officially to my 6P.
Yeah.
I'm going to put that on eBay shortly.
Yeah.
But I've gone back to the 5S.
Yeah.
So that I can actually use the Apple Watch when it comes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if anybody wants a crisp 6P...
Yes, it'll be on sale for $850. So cheap. No,
We'll throw in a Lazy Couch podcast sticker that we don't have yet.
We'll engrave it at the back. Yeah,
we'll engrave it. So the other part of what I'm excited about Pixels is I bought a new monitor for my PC.
All right.
So I got a 25-inch Dell U2515.
Didn't you rebuild the whole thing?
I did.
Yeah.
So I thought it's a good time to get a new monitor. I've had my current HP monitor for a while now.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking forward to having a 2K screen.
All right.
So it's got 1440p.
And you don't need an iPhone to use that.
No, you don't. You don't need an iPhone to use that monitor.
Okay. All right.
I also thought it's a good time to talk about the show.
Mm-hmm.
So we've been doing a bit of survey. Maybe that involved 2 or 3 people. But we're going to look, instead of covering the news every week, we're going to look into covering bigger events. If you look at the little spreadsheet we put together right now, we spoke about this quite quickly. So Google's press event is something we're definitely going to cover when you get back from Tasmania.
Yeah.
There's also the Oculus Connect 3 event that's happening on October 5th.
Mm-hmm.
And Snowden the movie is coming out on September 22nd. So I'm not sure we're going to cover that one.
Doctor Strange is coming out
Yeah,
soon
Doctor
as well.
Strange. I have it here on 27th of October.
Okay. Right.
So we might do something there. But basically the way the show is going to work, and we're going to give it a go, let us know what you think, is we're going to be covering sort of larger tech events rather than the day-to-day news stories.
Yeah. So in terms of the frequency, that might change a bit. It could be weekly, depending on the events.
Yeah.
But it could also be a little, longer than that. So the last one we had was 2 weeks ago. So that's sort of testament to that. But yeah, hopefully it's all good. We'll get to 100 at some stage, Kelvin.
Yeah, I know. That's on where, I want to do the live recording and everying. Maybe book out a little
that's
place.
actually happening. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. Seems like a good idea now.
All right. So actually, I'm going to Tasmania next week as well for a bit of a hike. So we're going to miss next week. So when I get back from that, the October Google event,
yeah, and hopefully the Oculus Connect 3 event will have something coming out of that as well. So we'll cover those 2 events. But Google is going to help you on your trip. So I came across a story about Google Trips, which is a new travel app. What's cool about it? You can use it offline. So there's a cool little video that we're going to sort of clip in the show notes. So it serves as a trip planner, a travel guide for anyone who's exploring a new place like yourself, Jeff. It's free. It's available on Android and iOS. We saw the video before recording today. It looks pretty cool.
Yes, the lady there,
Yeah.
Vanessa, whatever her name was, she was lost in Barcelona.
Yeah.
She was getting all confused with the cab driver leaving her at wrong hotels and stuff.
Yeah.
But never fear, she's got Google Trips.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit like TripIt. You could like put all your. I mean, Google knows where you're flying to.
Yeah.
If you've hooked in your Gmail to your, well, if you're on Gmail, you don't have to hook anything to it, right?
Yeah. No, it looks like
Google
it picked
knows.
up everything, and
Yeah.
so this is basically taking the travel elements of Gmail and Google Maps and Google and just smashing it into an app,
Yeah.
which I think is really smart.
And I think the killer feature is being able to plan your day. So if you go to a city
Yeah.
like Barcelona, and like the sort of the big spots where tourists go to, Park Güell and what's another place? There's the Familia Sagrada,
architecture, yeah.
all that sort of place. And as you sort of meet with people before you go on the trip, they'll give you tips and advice, and they'll you can add it on the fly, and then you can just draw out your trip.
Yeah, so I think where this beats TripIt is, when we were using TripIt, we had to email TripIt everything we needed.
That's right, yeah.
That's old school, right? I
Yeah.
mean, Google knows everything. It might as well use it to good advice.
Yeah.
But also, things like, like the time it takes to get from one location to the other, I think is priceless, because obviously you're in a foreign city and you're not going to know what the transport system is like.
So I think, it should work for, the kind of trip where you sort of drive around a lot more as well, because in Tasmania I'll be going from, starting from Hobart, then going to the West Coast. So on the way, we've got a few sort of scenic places to visit.
Yeah.
So it should tell us, the driving direction and all that sort of stuff as well.
Yeah, you should definitely report back.
Yeah.
When you, and it saves you in data as well. It'll be interesting to see how big this app is. We'll definitely give it a good test.
Tasmania has Wi-Fi, do they? 4G?
No, it has 4G. And you're in Telstra, right?
Yeah.
You're fine.
Yeah.
You definitely need Telstra in Tasmania.
And sorry for that one listener in Hobart right now. I just offended you.
Yeah,
okay.
But I say we get on with the show. So this week, we're going to look at the bad, the good, and the ugly sides of the iPhone 7, its Android competitors, and how the best phone might be one we'll never, ever, ever see.
So on the back of last week's episode where we covered the iPhone event actually that was one of our longest episodes, Kelvin. I don't know if you realized. We went through the iPhone 7 and 7 Plus in great depth. I guess, this episode's about, how should you purchase your phone, your next phone? So it depends on your situation, definitely. But if you're an iOS sort of person, and I guess you've got no reason to move over to Android, then there's definitely some good parts to iPhone.
Yeah.
Let's cover that quickly.
Yeah.
So you've looked up some of the benchmarks and the speed tests.
Yeah. So the problem with benchmarking is it's all theoretical, like it's not real life. But I did find one on 9to5Mac, where they actually did a loop of popular sort of apps. So you got some games, you've got some, run the settings between the Note 7 and the iPhone 7, and the iPhone 7 killed it. Like, in fact, before the Samsung 7 finished the same sequence of apps, it was already lapping it. The iPhone 7. So it already started the loop again.
So I'm thinking that, this was one day ago. They still use a Note 7. Is that safe?
Yeah.
They just didn't charge it.
Yeah. We're going to talk about that in a sec as well, in terms of whether the Note 7 is...
I guess the reason why I'm asking is because, is that the latest Samsung phone that came out? Okay.
The Note 7.
So that is the highest.
That's right. And what's really interesting is, so phones have RAM, just like computers, right? The RAM is basically what you store temporarily to run stuff. The iPhone 7 only has 2 gig, but the Note 7 is 4 gig. And both of them had 14 apps open at the same time. But the Samsung one had to reload some of them. So it couldn't keep 14 apps running at the same time. But the iPhone 7 had no problem. So it really is, supporting Apple's argument that when you design hardware and software together, it just means you can get away with less RAM.
Well, to be fair, they were the same apps, but still there were the iOS versions of those apps plus versus the Android version. So it could be the software as well, right?
Yeah. And, I think Android's going through... developing everything in a different code base now with, ART and everything. So they're trying to do what it can. Other good things about the iPhone 7 is the screen. So DisplayMate, which is a industry leader in sort of color accuracy and, how good it is, has given the iPhone 7 a thumbs up. As of this recording, as of 9 to Fact yesterday, it's not out yet, but what they're saying so far is in terms of picture quality, it's setting many new display performance records. So in terms of absolute color accuracy and calibration accuracy, the display man has said the screen is more accurate, not just with other smartphones, but with any TV the company has ever tested.
Right.
So when your iPhone kicks in, it's the best screen, full stop, not just for smartphones, but for TVs as well.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah, which is pretty
So the only
amazing.
difference between the screens on the iPhone 7 and 7 Plus versus the 6S and 6S Plus, God, that's a mouthful,
Yep.
is that it has a wider color gamut, or that's how they're marketing it. But they're both Retina HD displays, has the same number of pixels.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's that sort of extra layer on top of the Retina stuff, I suppose.
Yeah, we were laughing a bit about how it's got more nits, which is how you measure brightness. But interesting, you look at the contrast ratio, it's lower than the iPhone 7. The iPhone 7 Plus has maybe because of that screen that size, if it gets any more contrast, it's probably going to blind you or something. I don't know.
Yeah. But the Plus phones also have a higher PPI as well, pixels per inch.
Yes.
It doesn't compare to some of the Android phones
No.
though, because they're sort of up to like 500 range, aren't they?
Yeah, because they do 2K screens on a little phone. So the thing is, personally, I think, at full HD, which is 1920 by 1080, it's going to be good it's a good balance between quality and battery life. So yeah, I think one of the things that YouTubers are saying that it's really time that iPhones move to OLED, which is a much more efficient type of screen. But it seems like since they've built the best screen ever, there's no argument there, really.
Yeah.
They've really done really well here, Apple. The next thing that we want to talk about is the camera. The place I go to for good camera reviews is DP Review. So they review all the best, like, SLRs and mirrorless cameras. So they put together sort of like, here are the 10 reasons why the iPhone 7 camera is one of the best around. 12 megapixels. It really is all you need. So don't be thrown off by that number, because you get the Note 7, I think, has 16. The Sony has 23. And I read about some
Nokia phone that had 40 megapixels.
So
yeah, that was about
12
3 years ago.
megapixels is pretty good.
Yeah.
So don't worry about that. This is the one I like the best, and it's tempting to sort of for me to do. Is it now shoots RAW, and we spoke about that quite in depth in the last episode, so we're not going to go through too much of that. But it is really what you SLR richness coming in the photo sort of format. You now get zoom in the iPhone 7 Plus. I'm sure you're excited about that, like actual hardware zoom. So in case you didn't know, the iPhone 7 Plus is two cameras, a 12 megapixel camera and an 8 megapixel one. So you can do a bit of zooming.
On the 7 Plus only.
Yeah, on the 7 Plus only. You can now do bokeh, which is an effect where you can blur out the background. Previously, it's hard to do on phones because you don't have that zoom camera happening. So now you have two of those cameras that can do it quite well.
So that's the portrait setting on the camera, although that's not available right now. I think it's a download that you have to do, or it's an update.
Right.
It's an iOS update that's coming probably mid-October, I think they were saying.
Cool. So it's quite a complex thing to do, especially using software. So that will take a while. Number 6, it's optically stabilized. So you can move it, you can shake it, and it can do a good job in terms of stabilizing that shot. It's very quick. And quite powerful. So we spoke about all the processing power that's going into this stuff, and we just spoke about the speed in terms of comparing to a Note 7, so it's got no problem there. It now shoots 4K, just in case you want to have movie quality videos come out of your phone. Number 9, it's water resistant. So if you're a avid photographer and it's raining and stuff, that's not going to stop you. So what they're hoping for here, and DP Review makes a really good point, is now that it's got a great camera, a lot of the other competitors will try and prop up their cameras, and it always happens this way. I mean, if you look at the S7 Edge, which had the best camera until the iPhone 7 came about, that was because iPhone was pushing everyone to do it. So hopefully people like Sony, who provides a lot of these lenses, can do a really good job in doing something for their own phones. We're going to go through the Sony phone in a sec, and it was quite a surprise.
Sure.
So that's the last thing we want to speak about is iOS 10.
All right, yes.
Yeah, so you and I have been iOS 10 for a couple of days now.
Yeah, a few days, yeah.
I don't think I've seen every feature yet. So the couple of things I use on my iPhone 6 a lot is obviously the camera. No real change there. I use iMessage a little bit, which we've been toying around with and playing around with, which is quite fair. You want to go through some of that stuff in iMessage?
Yeah, so I mean, like other sites have like 50 things you need to know about iOS 10, but we'll go through some of the stuff that actually Apple is calling out on their website. So iMessage is probably the biggest feature out of iOS 10.
Yeah.
So what can you do? Like as long as you have the iMessage feature on, because not everyone's doing that even after they upgrade to iOS 10. So if you get that blue bubble, you can add stickers, Kelvin.
Yay, it's all about the stickers.
And when you post a hyperlink, you get the thumbnail preview as well, which is quite nice, just catching up with everyone else really.
Yeah.
You've got, I guess they're kind of like stickers, but it's more like icons or... Yeah.
It's more like, in PowerPoint, when you do a transition, you get to do a box out and slide in.
Yeah, so that's I don't know what they call it exactly.
I don't know what they call it.
Is it called I mean, like you can slam, you can do a gentle one.
Yeah.
Where it's just, you sort of like whisper.
Yeah.
Whisper it, like when you want to say sorry or something like that.
Yeah.
You can also do a secret one where...
Yeah, like
invisible link, that's it.
Yeah, invisible link.
So you can like either, send the photo or send the message, and when the receiver gets it, they'll see like a jumbled up sort of bits of dots everywhere, and then you just simply tap on it to reveal the message.
Yeah. The other thing you were showing me the other day is the takeover. Like when you say things like happy birthday or congratulations, it takes over the entire screen.
Yeah.
It's kind of intrusive.
They've got 4 or 5 things at the moment, so they'll probably open it up to other devs,
hopefully.
And maybe it's a form of advertising as well. Maybe they're going to make that like a Snapchat like filter where you can, if you're launching, the Ghostbusters movie or something like that, you can have a Ghostbusters filter. Yeah, so that could be one of the ways I can make even more money. But the 4 that's there at the moment, like there's balloons, there's fireworks, there's sort of lasers. Pretty lame, to be honest. So I don't really use that much. Yeah. I'm really liking the stickers though.
Yeah.
So I've got the Star Wars one. I paid $4.99 for that.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So you got BB-8 doing the thumbs up.
Yeah,
with his
I saw that one.
Yeah,
I saw that one.
So that's iMessage.
Yeah, and in summary, it's Snapchat, WhatsApp, Kakao, WeChat. Like the bits of it all just jumbled into one.
Yeah, so this is Apple's take on that sort of thing.
Yeah, you can draw now as well. It's crazy.
One of the things I noticed is some people do not like that parallax effect. So there's a global setting on your phone where you can disable that. So even if you have iMessage on, if you have parallax off, then you don't see those animations. Yeah, which is kind of bad, I think, because I think they're 2 separate things.
Yeah. More emojis than you can poke a stick at. You can
they've got the animated sort of GIF, what do you say?
Yeah, GIFs. You can also send locations now. So on that, there's also been a change to Apple Maps. I don't usually use Apple Maps. I'm going to go through that in detail.
There's more features. I think it's better for like, turn-by-turn directions.
Okay.
Apparently you can also search, like while you're on the road, you can actually search in real time where the nearest petrol station is, for example.
Yeah, that's really good. Siri's got an update as well, so you can do things like you can tell Siri to WhatsApp messages.
As in, not just open WhatsApp, but send that WhatsApp message.
Tried it didn't work. I'm not quite sure how to trigger that. I think there's a lot we need to do to learn about iOS 10 features, but I couldn't get it to trigger WhatsApp for the life of me.
Hey Siri, tell my wife that I'm going to be home late.
On WhatsApp.
Okay, oops, okay.
Yeah, now you're triggering everything.
Did that work? Okay.
No, it didn't. Right. So there's also been apparently huge updates to the music player, to iTunes, to the Mail app. So I use the Mail app quite a lot, and the changes are quite subtle. So you can now do conversation view. Instead of a list by list view.
Okay.
So you could see everything all grouped up.
Welcome to 2011.
Yeah, I know. What do you think of the notifications? Do you like the new notifications in iOS 10?
I find that I'm tapping more. Like there's more clicks, you know what I mean? So I don't mind it so much. I do appreciate the way you can sort of slide to the left and you can either view the message or like reply without having to go into or opening the phone. So I'm 50-50 on it. Like I guess because I've sort of started from scratch, so all my apps are not there at the moment, so I'm not getting as many notifications.
Yeah. So it's very much like Android's notification system, which I really like, especially when you go into your home screen, you can pull down from the top and see all the notifications from your standby screen. So I like it. I like how you can do it in the standby screen as well. So I don't think you need to log. You can use your fingerprint to actually log in but stay on the lock screen, which I find kind of confusing right now. Sometimes if I do it too quick, it goes into the home screen. Sometimes I do it just right and it leaves me on that notification screen in the standby mode. So it's still got things to work out. It's kind of quirky, but I think, with 10.1 maybe or 10.01, they might fix some of these little quirks.
Yeah, I feel like 11 is where they're going to like really refine that experience, because I think, the new notifications is still a bit kind of raw. It's like just a big dump of everything. Let's copy what Android's been doing. I think 11 is where they're going to sort of like make it more Apple-like.
I also don't like the widgets. I don't think I've seen anything that's really useful besides my calendar one. Like calendar's fine.
Yeah, but the devs have to catch up there, right? So I think that'll be coming through. Like like at the moment there's nothing really to use.
And as we mentioned in the last episode with iOS 10, all the APIs are going out to developers. You're absolutely right. Like we need to give time to developers to do stuff.
Yeah, another big change to iOS 10 is Smart Home, or Home, I think they call it. So there's probably not much to talk about just now because I haven't got any smart home things.
Yeah.
I don't have an IoT thing at home. Not really. I did dabble into an OzBargain thing during the week. What was it? The Lift?
The Lift lights.
Yeah. But I didn't get around to it. So we'll move on from that one. Widgets.
Yeah.
I think also widgets, I think where it will shine is the 3D touch as well. So, obviously I don't have 3D touch. Do you have 3D touch?
No, I don't. It's iPhone 6. So from 6S up, you get the 3D touch. And I think that API is being made available to a lot of developers as well. So,
News.
Yeah.
What do you think about news?
I don't use Apple News. I
get too much like, mainstream news on it. Like even I can choose to hide like the Channel 9 feed or 9MSN feed, but it keeps on coming up for some reason. So
the curation is pretty bad at the moment. I think if you're into mainstream news, like if you're reading a Daily Telegraph and stuff, I think this is perfect for you. But
there's
a lot of
stuff about the Kardashians. And,
it's very, very, very mainstream. So if you're that kind of crowd, but definitely it might work for you. But I just don't see why you can't just go to your favorite publication and get that. It's just not things.
Probably the last one, the Photos app.
Yeah.
On iOS 10. Have you tried that yet?
No.
I haven't taken enough photos just yet, but the collections are quite nice.
Yeah.
So it does the Google Photos thing where, if you've been away for a weekend and it just sort of puts all those photos in a nice sort of slideshow, and it might have a nice sort of, splash page. So they do that in iOS 10 now as well.
Share your Tassie one when you get back.
I will do that, yes.
And other things like Apple Pay on the web.
Oh, Apple Pay on the web, okay.
That'd be pretty good.
Well, is that really iOS 10 though? You need your phone, I suppose.
No, I think that one's a bit of a cheeky one to slide in there. It's not really an iOS thing. So those are the good things. Like it's really, really fast. It's waterproof. It's got the best camera at the moment, and iOS 10 is doing okay. But like you said, there's still a couple of things it needs to fix in iOS 11. But it's the right direction. I think they definitely have to work out the widgets part. Siri has to get better. Everything else is still solid. It's stable. It's fast. Let's move to some of the more negative parts of the iPhone. Undeniably, it's expensive. Yeah.
Yes, I'm just nodding there. I'm speechless about the price. The amount of cash
you just threw out.
Yes.
Yeah. So just as a reminder, you go spend at least $1,000 just for 32 gig.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For iPhone 7, the smaller one. Yeah, so it ranges between 1,079 in Australia to 1,569. I got the 1,419, which is the 128 gig, the mid-range iPhone 7 Plus. So, like I know of a mate who. Oh, actually, you're probably listening. Hey there, Kerr. I know he just bought he already ordered and received the Jet Black 256. He's in China, so I don't know how he did that.
Well, it is coming from Suzhou.
So he got the high end one. So I'll speak to him in a few weeks just to see how he's going.
I actually saw an iPhone 7 Plus in the office today.
Are you sure it wasn't a 6 Plus?
Nope, it was the iPhone 7 Plus in pink.
Was it? Oh, pink.
In rose gold. It's massive. It looks. It's heavy.
Right.
than mine. Anyway,
Yeah.
won't go into
So
that.
as we go on to some of the other phones that are available in market right now, like the price is definitely a negative, or the bad part of the iPhone. I suppose everything about the iPhone. But you know what? Apple fans will always keep on buying. I'm one of them. Yep.
Yep, and you know what? I guess the price is justified a little bit with the service you get. I think it's a 1-year warranty, and you get to walk to any Apple store. And in most cases, if the fault is with the manufacturer, you probably get a refurbished one, and it's pretty good.
Because they're so waterproof these days, you can't use the I drop my phone into the toilet excuse anymore.
Yeah, so it's good. Like, it's caught up with the with the Samsungs, even though it's probably on fire. You throw in the water anyway. But and it's expensive, and you pay for the quality, and hopefully it'll last you 2 or 3 years if you're not a hardcore fan like Jeff here, who buys one practically every year. What other sort of downsides do you see?
Depends who you talk to here, but no headphone jack.
Yep. Hashtag bring back the jack.
Bring back the jack. So I love that hashtag because if you're one of those that already have an iPhone 7 or 7 Plus, and people ask, are you missing the headphone jack? Yeah. It's like, I mean, like, you can use the one that they gave you on the thing. Why would you miss it? Unless you've after day one you've lost your headphones.
Yeah. or the adapter it came with. Yeah. I still feel very strongly that they should have included the $229 AirPods. Just to complete the circle, because I was having lunch with a couple of colleagues today, and that's what one of them said. They're like, "Wait, does it come with the AirPods? Why do I see it everywhere?" That's because they want you to buy it. I mean, no, it's not a bad thing. I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it allows them to sell, like, I've seen the dock now that you can buy to charge the phone and listen at the same time.
Oh. Is that Apple one? Or?
Yeah, Apple one's $40.
Okay.
But you can buy the little dongle splitter thing as well.
The dongle splitter.
Yeah. So you connect it up to the Thunderbolt, and at the end there's another female Thunderbolt and a 3.5-inch audio jack. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, it's a lightning.
Lightning, sorry. Okay. Lightning bolt. Thunder, lightning.
All right. Other bad things about it. I suppose I got the jet black one, which I'm sort of half regretting. Apparently it scratches quite easily.
Yeah, which we spoke about, and it's in the disclaimer on the website. The other thing is, and this is quite crazy, Recode picked up a story about the iPhone 7 and how it was water tested. So, I mean, they did things like a bend test, water test, and a drop test. So the bad thing is the iPhone 7 isn't any better in a drop test compared to the iPhone 6. So they both drop the same. Obviously now it can handle, they said depth of 5 meters for 30 minutes in water. So the iPhone 7 definitely is waterproof because they dunked it for 30 minutes, which I thought was really impressive.
Right.
It seems like the Note 7 is more solid. So overall, they give it like
just don't charge it.
Yeah, just don't charge it.
Yeah,
they did the tumble test. They did the scratch test, drop test, any test you can think of to torture your phone. And the Note 7 just was ahead by 1.5 points, I think, 6.5 versus 5. But overall, just don't drop your iPhone 7 because it's not going to fare very well. It'll crack in all different places.
Having a drop-proof phone will be probably a long time coming, I think.
It's called BlackBerry. No, I'm kidding. So it's an expensive, fragile phone if you really wanted to sum up some of the bad points. And back to the price, Jeff.
Yeah.
If I'm an iOS dude or dudette and I really want to buy an iPhone, what are my other options?
So I feel like most people get them outright these days. Is that
a
trend, you think? It hasn't always been the case, but I know of more people just, within my circles. So I think if you're doing that, I think the getting the 6S and the 6S and the 6S Plus, I always get confused about those. I think it is a good alternative at this stage because the price has dropped a little bit.
Yeah.
So what's that? $929.
Yeah,
for the 6S.
Yeah, for the 32 gig. So there's no 16 gig for those.
That's right. Yeah.
So $929 for 32 gig, and you pay a little more for the Plus, which I think you should go for. So if it saves you, I don't know. I would recommend you bump it up by the $200. I think the difference is to get the 7.
I think it also depends on what you have currently.
Yes.
So what you want to upgrade from. So say you're on a 5S. I think 7 is probably like, if you fork out a couple of $100 extra, I think 7 is probably worth it.
Yeah.
I suppose, like I know a lot of people that are still on the 5 even, or even the 4S.
Ew. Yeah.
Kaz is on the 4.
What?
And she's still, I think she'll get the 6S.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you're, if you've got kids or teenagers, or if you're really on a low budget, I think the SE is a good option as well. So the SE goes for $679 for 16 gigs.
And if you have small hands.
Yeah, small hands. If you like a small phone, it's got what, four?
So I'll tell you what, I've been going back to the 5S. I hadn't used that for a couple of years. It's like I just can't type properly.
Yes, your thumbs are like, what?
I actually had to install Gboard so I can do the swipe.
Yeah, which you need.
Because I can't type with my thumbs anymore.
Yeah, no, your thumbs just aren't used to it. So that's the entire iPhone, iOS. If you're shopping around and you really, really don't like Android, so those are the options for you. So hopefully you find a phone that suits you. Now, let's look at Android. So Androids. That was a little tune from the Google Pixel invite for the October 4th event. But before we go into the Google Pixel, I think there's an obvious competitor we need to talk about.
Oh yeah,
and that's Samsung.
Oh, we're going there. Okay.
Yeah, we're going there.
Right.
So with Samsung, you've heard about the recall, about the Note 7 blowing up and everything. And
if you've been on a flight recently, you might have heard the flight attendant say, please do not charge your Note 7.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, they're like, oh, you can post it. I'm like, yes, because paper doesn't burn very well, does it?
All right.
They're like, you can post the phone. Like, no, you don't put lithium batteries in a little envelope.
Hang on, isn't it only when it's charging though?
Well, I think the joke is,
it's
putting it's a
right.
bad joke. So Samsung has obviously created some really good phones recently, like the Note 7, the S7, the S7 Edge. Mm-hmm. It really comes down to how safe you feel about buying a brand that has this current track history, track record. We're going to exclude Samsung's from this list only because you know enough about it, you know what's happening out there. Personally, would I feel comfortable buying a Note 7, S7, or S7 Edge? No, because I'm kind of worried about the resale value as well, just like you're trying to sell your 6P at the moment. And I don't want to be made fun of. That's the other thing.
Yeah, so I guess you're a little bit nervous if you have a S7 even or S7 Edge.
Yeah,
they're clearly the most popular phones other than iPhones. But I sort of feel like the regular, I don't know, your Joe Blows out there.
Yeah.
When we talk Android phones, they think Samsung phones, right?
Yeah.
So hopefully, if you're listening to the podcast, The Laser Couch, then you know the difference between those two.
And if you don't, Android is an operating system.
It is.
It is not a phone. Samsung took the Android operating system and applied its own TouchWiz UI on top of it to make it look different to like a Nexus Google phone. So Samsung doesn't own Android. Android doesn't own Samsung. They're just using Google's Android operating system.
Yeah. And we're going to talk about it later, but if you have a look at the list of the most popular phones out there, like Samsung really dominates.
Yeah, dominant. So this is a real tough time for Samsung. I think with the Note 7, the S7s, they could have taken on the iPhone 7.
Are we expecting the S8 range to really dip?
So there's talk of the S8 at this stage because obviously Samsung has to deflect, right? Because this is going to cost them an arm and a leg.
Yeah.
This is going to be expensive.
So in terms of the recall, because it's a certain type of battery that they've identified, but because they can't expect the buyers to actually open it up, they can't check what sort of battery that's in there.
No.
And I can't believe they can't actually work it out from the serial numbers either.
Yeah, I think they're taking. I think the kudos to Samsung. They're taking the very safe recall approach.
But if they kept them, the batteries that can, what do you call those? The phones that you can take the batteries out. What do you call it?
Like the S5s. Or
like if they kept that.
Yeah,
they wouldn't be having this problem. That's the irony.
Yeah, but because they wanted to compete with the iPhone 7 in terms of if you seal it, you get to do a lot more because you don't have to worry about
It's waterproof.
It's waterproof.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I mean, that's the other story I've been reading. The reason why the Note 7 was built so poorly was because most Android manufacturers don't have control over the hardware and the software. They can't control how Android treats the battery. So one way to get a longer battery life is to increase the battery. But there's a limit to that. And obviously they knew the iPhone 7 was coming. They knew there was going to be battery enhancements. So they really pushed the battery size to the edges of what the phone could hold. So there was less space for connectors.
Yeah.
And when that happens, there's a chance of these things happening.
Okay.
So yeah, I personally wouldn't get a Note 7 now because sure, now it's the battery, but what else should you be worried about? And just looking at how well and how fast the iPhone 7 is, if you're sort of agnostic like I am, like I've been bouncing between the iPhone 6 and the Nexus 5, at the moment I'm going to have to give it to the iPhone 7 compared to the Note 7. Having said that though, enough about Samsung. Let's move on to Google.
Yes.
So the Pixel event is coming out October 4th, which we've mentioned in the past. This is like the leakiest phone ever in the sense that like we're getting so much information about who made it, the sizes, the specs, and we've been talking about it for months. So what do we hope to see on October 4th? So according to Android Police, you'll see two phones, which we spoke about, called the Pixel and the Pixel XL. You're also going to see the Google Home, which is Google's answer to Amazon Echo. You're going to see Daytime VR, which is Google's answer to Samsung Gear VR. And there's going to be a new Chromecast or an update to the Chromecast that gives it the capability of 4K playback, all which is really exciting stuff, even though I don't have a 4K screen. So that's what's going to happen on October 4. So back to the phones. You're going to see the 5-inch version called the Pixel and a 5.5-inch version called the Pixel XL, which is exactly the same like the iPhone 7s. Because of Nexus and what it is, they're not going to call it Nexus anymore. They want the Pixel line to be more premium and include Google exclusive features. I almost wonder if Google saw this coming for Samsung because Samsung is pretty much the premium sort of they're carrying all the weight of this premium Android experience. But now Google's like, nah, we're gonna have to play in this space because we're coming up against Apple.
This is a change in branding though. It's not like they already have a product called Pixel, which is the Chromebook, right?
Yes.
So is it to align with that? Are they saying Nexus doesn't sound as premium as Pixel?
Yes,
this
but
is very confusing.
Yeah, I know. I totally agree with you. But when you think of Nexus, you think like the most popular one, which is Nexus 5 that I have. That was super dirt cheap. It was like $369, and it still runs okay. So what I think they really want to do is leave it to the Xiaomis and the Meizus and the Licos and the Oppos and the OnePluses of the world to take care of that side of the market. The Chinese made phones, and they're really good phones, but they want to play in the high-end phones, and they want to do something exclusive like Samsung's eyeball reading technology to unlock your phone. They want to do something fun like that.
So these are LG?
This one is HTC.
HTC, of course.
Which I think is great because HTC was drowning. Because the HTC 10 wasn't doing very, very well. So hopefully this gives them a bit of a boost. I mean, considering they're doing really well in the VR space.
Okay. So I think, just going back to the branding, so, there's no number attached today. So it's just Pixel, smaller, Pixel XL, bigger. Yeah. So next year, it could be another manufacturer, but it'll be the same Pixel.
It could be Nits.
Could be. Nits.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? So we're really excited about that. We're going to be covering it in the next fortnight or so. So wait out for that. If you're a bunch of geeks like us and you always want to get the latest Android versions, you definitely have to wait for the Pixel phones because they get it first.
So we're up to N now, so it'll be the O phone next year.
Ooh, Oreo.
Opportunity.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
This is a good one. What else would I call? Oh. No, this will be Nougat. The next Pixels will be on Nougat. But it'd be fun to sort of...
Right.
Yeah. Because at the moment, there's only one Nougat phone, which is what we're going to be talking about now.
But if you get this year's Pixels, next year you'll be the first to get the Oreo phones. Oreo update. Okay, there you go.
We're going to stick with that. It's the Oreo phones. So But there are some manufacturers that actually do really well in terms of bringing you the latest updates in a couple of weeks after Google is done. And one of those companies is LG. This is a phone that you've probably never heard of. It's called the V20. It started out with the V10. The V10, what made it unique was there's a screen. There's a little strip on the top that's always on.
Right.
So imagine your notification bar where you can see your Wi-Fi connection and your 4G little
It's
bar.
always on.
It's always on.
Okay.
So you can see the time and you can see little notifications, so it's always on.
Is it part of the actual screen or is it a different kind of...
No, it's actually a different screen at the top.
Oh, up there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you get to do really basic things like check the time.
On the bezel.
On the bezels.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's always on. So you don't have to, that thing you do every day where you click on your phone just to check the time. You don't have to do any of that.
Yeah, well, if you have a Nexus, the Nexus 6P is raised to sort of see that.
Yeah, that's right.
The new iPhones
so
do that as well.
It's a different approach.
Yeah, it's always on.
And why the LG V20 is also really special, it's got 2 cameras, just like the iPhone 7 Plus. So it's got a 16 megapixel and an 8 megapixel wide angle camera. Mm-hmm. So you can shoot really creative things like panoramas, slow motion videos, a time lapse. There's also an ability to shoot a pop-out photo, which lets you customize the background with various effects. So you not only can do bokeh, but you can do different things with it. You can also do vignettes, sequential 3-second ones, lots of other kooky features that you get. So if you love your photography and something quirky and you've got that sort of thing going, hell, if you're an Instagrammer, you're going to love this stuff. The other thing that I think is really cool about the V20 is the manual control of the camera. So you get to set the white balance, ISO. It's pretty crazy. It's like a full-on SLR.
Yeah.
So this is definitely for the power user.
The UI looks kind of strange, not very Android-y. I wonder if it's they forked a little bit to something else.
Yeah, no, the LG definitely has its own fork thing, but it's quite simple. It's not as bad as TouchWiz, thankfully.
Yep.
So that's the manual controls. If you're really into photography, you definitely want to have a look at this phone. The other one is the DAC, and Audio Andy. We're very happy about this. So a DAC is a digital audio converter, if I'm correct.
That's right.
So it means better music. But in order to have better quality of sound, you need to give it sort of a higher definition of files. Mm-hmm. So if you like Audio Andy and you rip your CDs into 192 sort of bitrate type music, you're gonna love this. And if you've got headphones, I say worth more than about $200, you're definitely gonna appreciate this.
So that DAC, that converter is important because you could have a high quality file on your phone, but without that converter, you can't actually output that high quality music.
Yeah, that's right.
This one
this can go up. I think it can also record. It's got a good microphone as well. So if you're into music, you know what we're talking about. You definitely want to have a look at that as well. Mm-hmm. The other cool thing is it's slightly old school, but just like you mentioned, it's got a removable battery. Oh, yeah. So it's not going to go into all explodey and all. And my favorite part of this, it's got Android Nougat installed.
Ooh.
So it's the first phone. It's the first time we've seen the latest version of Android not on a Google phone.
Right.
So that's pretty cool. I think they put in a lot of effort to make sure the beta worked out. And,
how are we looking at for the price here? Because that's a very desirable looking phone.
So let me have a look. I think I had it for... Let me just quickly pull that up.
And is it out?
Yes, it's definitely out now. Yeah. It's almost coming. It was launched on September 7th in San Francisco. I'm just pulling up the CNET report on that.
While you're doing that, I'll read out some of the specs. So it's pretty impressive. It has a Snapdragon 820 powered beast. Wow, 820. Snapdragon 820. That's cool. 4 gigs of RAM, 64 gigs of base storage. It's got micro SD support. It has a 3200 milliamp removable battery. That's really good. The fact that it's removable.
Yeah.
USB Type C, quick charge. Yeah, got the whole package.
Yeah. So we're looking at about between 800 and 900 AUD. Mm-hmm. It's going to go for 600 700 USD, depending on whichever provider you go with, etc., etc. So it's a premium device. Yeah, slightly under the iPhone 6s. So it's definitely within there if you're looking for a high-end phone. So no, it looks like a good option.
I think if you're kind of curious, even if you're an iOS sort of person, you're just curious about going to Android, this is a very good alternative, I reckon.
The other one we wanted to look at is Sony. I think Sony has a really good reputation in terms of building really good-looking Sony phones. So the one that's really, really new is the Sony Xperia X Performance. So it's a phone that runs Android 6 Marshmallow. It's built around a 5-inch IPS LCD screen, which gives you good color reproduction. It's definitely designed to compete with like S7, HTC 10, and other sort of high-end phones. It's slightly smaller than most of its competitors. It's quite heavy. It's about 165 grams. So if you're looking for a 5-inch phone, which is quite small comparatively these days, this is, something maybe worth looking into. So it's got a lot of, typical good Sony sort of well thought out design features. Unfortunately, and this is really, really, really disappointing, the camera isn't great.
All right.
Considering that Sony builds camera sensors for a living. So it's got a 23 megapixel camera.
Not just that, they build it for other phones.
Yeah. So it's got a 12 megapixel rear camera, so similar to the iPhone 7.
Okay.
But apparently it's very mediocre according to Gizmodo. So that's really sad as well. Battery life is really poor, apparently. So that's really disappointing. And no USB Type-C.
So you wouldn't recommend this one?
No. It uses micro USB. So unless you're a big Sony fan and you like small phones, this is not one you should even look at.
You would sort of place this in the mid-range Android category, yeah?
Yeah, but I think it's being billed as a flagship, unfortunately.
Right. So
this is the performance version. It's got a range of good colors. I see 5 colors there. It's got black, pink, gold, silver, and white. It's $1,000 launch price, so it's pretty expensive. It looks great. If you're a big Sony fan, definitely go for it. But I think everyone else just hold out for the Pixel or, have a look at the LG V20. Obviously, there are a lot of other phones out there for people who are more budget-minded. Like I think, Xiaomi has a few. The OnePlus 3 is legendary. The problem is a lot of those phones are what we call gray imports, and you're going to have to import them in. My advice is just make sure it has the right sort of bands in terms of, Telstra, Optus. They run different frequencies from those in China, the UK, and the US. So make sure you look it up before you do a lot of that stuff.
Sure. So you might just quickly look at the most popular phones in the world, first half of 2016. So we've got the list up here on the screen here, Kelvin. So obviously the Galaxy Note 5 and the S6 is they make up 7.8% and 5.4% respectively, which makes up what's that, 16?
Yeah. So
14%.
That's like 15%, 18, like 20% of the world's top 4 phones are Samsungs.
Actually, this is out of the Androids, I suppose.
Yeah.
This is not including iPhones. No.
But still, for Android users, there's a huge slice of the market.
Yeah, so interestingly, as you go down the list, and, Samsung's Korean, but other than that, it's all Chinese.
Yeah.
So Xiaomi Redmi Note 3.
Yep.
3% of that, so I would say most of that is in China and Hong Kong. Now, this is a brand that I've never heard of. It's called Meizu.
Yeah.
And they got something called the MX-5.
Named after the Mazda MX-5.
So you're saying that Meizu is a Xiaomi competitor?
Yeah, so they're quite big in China as well. They became famous by building an exact copy of the iPhone 6 or the iPhone 5. Like, exact copy.
But Xiaomi copied iPhone, so Meizu is copying Xiaomi.
Like, the Meizu's like the Xiaomi when it first started. All they did was copy iPhone.
The LG G3 is doing quite well, and I think that's probably in the Korean sort of market. Another one that I never heard of, now it's spelled Leeco, Leeco,
with a big E.
But it has the middle E is a big E, so is it Leeco?
I don't know.
Okay.
I like it. Leeco it is.
Leeco.
Yeah.
It sounds very Chinese.
Yeah, no, it is.
Interestingly, in US, I think, 6 out of the top 10 was all Samsung products, Samsung Galaxy range. This may not be the case this time next year. We'll see. But number 3 and 4 are Nexus 6P and the Nexus 6. Yeah. 6? Oh, that's a tablet.
Yeah.
Okay, what's 6?
I think there's a slight typo there in this report, in the N22 benchmark. Yeah. So, in terms of the low end, in terms of the more budget friendly phones, I'm not going to go through them really quickly. You definitely want to look at the Nexus 5X, which will set you back about $350, which is the 10th most popular phone in the US right now. There's also the Motorola G. With the 4th generation, which is also worth looking into. So yeah, just stick to those. So make sure you get ones from reputable brands if you're in the budget range, because at that price point, you're going to get lower amounts of RAM. You're going to get less sort of memory space. So you definitely want someone to program that right. So Motorola will do it well. Nexus will do it well. And OnePlus and Xiaomi all do it very well as well.
And it really depends on your situation. So if you're okay with not having the best camera, you don't Instagram everywhere. You just sort of share photos to your friends, and you just want to sort of capture some of those moments. Low end camera might be perfectly fine. You can spend like, 400 or 500 Australian and get something that that you use for WhatsApp and messaging apps. They run perfectly fine. So anything that runs, that has a bad camera, I think is still reasonable.
Yeah, I think a lot of these phones that we just mentioned, like the Xiaomi and the Nexus 5X, like the cameras aren't great, but they get by. You can take a quick snap or so in bright daylight. But the good news is, though, a lot of these screens are really good. I think screens are just cheap to build now. So a lot of these screens are really quite good. And they all sort of hover around the 5-inch, 5.5-inch. So if big phones terrify you, have a look at those phones.
Or you can be like Rihanna and Adele and get a feature phone. A flip phone,
flip phone. But you know what? In really, really sad news, I think probably a year ago, we spoke a lot about Project Ara.
We did.
Yeah, Project Ara, it was one of those secret projects in Google where they were looking at building a fully modular phone. So just like we said, Jeff and I goes, you know what? If you've only got $500 to spend, but all you do is WhatsApp and WeChat and things like that, you probably don't need a good camera. So imagine the world where you could just go, you know what? I'll get the cheap camera, but get a bigger screen or a better screen, and then you just swap those things out. Unfortunately, according to Wired and Reuters, Google has suspended and most likely killed its modular smartphone project. In May, it was a really big thing. After a year of silence, they announced that there were 30 people inside the company, their ATAP division, using Ara as their primary phone. So that was really, really exciting. So Project Ara started at Motorola Mobility under Regina Dugan, who is the former head of DARPA, which is the government agency, technology agency. We spoke about DARPA last week about the hacking thing two episodes ago. So these guys are serious about the technology. She just left for Facebook. So she sort of also had a little, parting shot for Google. What she said was there were many, many obstacles faced by Ara and ATAP. She said, each of our efforts to create a seemingly impossible product has been faced with intense challenges along the way. These included technical challenges, organizational challenges, and challenges that would have broken many lesser teams, which is quite surprising. So what she's basically saying is that Facebook isn't like that. Like Facebook is willing to take more risk. And when you think about it with the whole crazy solar plane beaming internet to the world thing, she might be right. With Google X as well, producing some, driverless cars and things like that. So good on her, I guess.
I think the Wired has an interesting take on it. So the headline is "The Death of Project Ara shows Google is all grown up." So I guess I think what they're saying is like they're more like Apple in that they're going to try things, and if they feel that it's not going to work, they're going to kill it.
And I think that's the reason why Alphabet was started as well. So if something does work, they can sort of create a little company for it under the Alphabet arm, and then hopefully not freak out the shareholders.
So I think the team that's been working with Ara, apart from this Regina person, I think they've gone on to another organization, and I think they might be trying to revive it.
I've heard about that. You're right. No, that's
we'll look that up. It's not sort of coming through right now, but hopefully that sort of concept of modular phones is not totally dead.
So I think that's it for episode 74. We hope we helped you make a decision, depending on where you are at with your phone situation, what you should be getting, whether you're an Android fan or an iOS fan. There is definitely something for you out there. If you need any help, you can tweet us at The Lazy Couch, or you can email us at thelazycouchpodcast@gmail.com.
We'll get back to you within 2 hours with your questions.
Yeah, 2 hours in some funny
SLA.
universe. I mean, let us know if we missed anything out. You know what I mean? Like, you have this particular Chinese-made phone we've never heard of and you think it's amazing. Let us know. You can also find us on Facebook and Instagram. Just search for us. And the website is thelazycouch.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our newsletter. And regardless, if you're listening to iTunes, if you're listening to us via Pocket Cast or any of your funky tools, don't forget to rate us. And Kelv out.
Jeff out.